All right. Rob Brown and the coffee man, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida.
I'm
Cold
from,
coffee.
I'm from Chicago. I feel like with these glasses on, I feel like
Hey,
I'm from Chicago.
those glasses are just awesome. Those are some buddy glasses. We
Go Gators.
Go Gators, go Tigers, go SEC. SEC, first time ever. Two SEC teams in the Final Four. We got a stacked show today. The SEC College Football Roundtable.
Oh,
Friday
yeah.
lineup. Frank Duffy in Puerto Rico calling in. Got on Frank, Doug Dean in Birmingham. Kevin Skarbinski, Scarbo Knows, catch his show right here on this channel. Kevin's going to check in from Birmingham. Jimmy Dykes, ESPN basketball analyst, one of the best in the country, will join us as well, half past the hour. Toward the end, late in the show, Brad Bellamy's going to tell us, you're worried about tariffs and what it's doing to cars. Landers and Ford are launching a new program. I got wind of this right before the show. I said, absolutely, this is a game changer, folks. Hey, take
It's a great new program. It's called Get Brendan a Car program. I heard.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
heard
telling
about
you, and people are worried, Brendan.
Good program.
They're
worried about me not. They're worried about me not having a car. I know they're worried. I know. I get it. It's okay.
Well, hey, mine the other day, the electronics on these new vehicles are kind of scary. My AC, I'm like, it's fine. Then it wasn't. Then it was fine. You trigger one little button. It's crazy. Hey, take a picture.
Before we do that, Rob, I got an announcement for you. I didn't even tell you about this. It's very exciting. And it just came down the line, and it's got to happen right now. Go over to, we've been working with our brackets with ErnieSports.com. Ernie Sports, just like it sounds, the name ErnieSports.com. They're giving away 4 tickets. I got a call this morning to the national championship game. 4 tickets right now, just to our audience, the Buddy Martin Show and SEC Sidelines. If you're an Auburn fan or a Gator fan, you go. All you got to do, and I'm just letting people know, we don't get anything from this. Honestly, we're just passing along information. But these guys say, if you go to that QR code down there right now, and you just sign up, you drop a post in there because you have a little ace because you'll get a profile. You drop a post that say "Go Gators" or "Go Tigers." That count, whichever Auburn or Florida gets more teammates, Rob, that person's going to win 4 tickets to the national championship. So basically all you got to do is, it's free. You just go in, sign up, drop a post, pull for the Gators, pull for the Tigers, and just our audience has an opportunity to win right now. We'll remind you more about it later. And also, I didn't mean to disrupt everybody there. Also, go ahead to Twitter if you want to follow us on Twitter. It's at Rob Brown _, and then make sure, if you're not a Twitter person, if you're watching us, you can go to our YouTube channel, and that's a subscribe link right there. You subscribe, you get notifications when we're live. Sorry about all the announcements. We've got a whole room lined up, Rob, and I'm going to bring them all in right now.
Oh, absolutely. I see Doug in Birmingham. No, these in the Black Belt over there at the hunting camp.
I'm in Cedar Hill Camp in Hale County.
Damn right, over there. It's turkey season. Frank Duffy in Puerto Rico. Now, we've had listeners in Peace River, Alberta, which is a 42-hour drive from Memphis. Robert Weaver, when he was duck guiding, he would watch the show up there, he and his clients. Now we got Frank in Puerto Rico. Oh, wow. Doug. Hey, that guy's behind the times.
Was that Tim Tebow's helmet?
Is this the season we're talking about today?
Yeah.
What am I doing holding a Bama helmet? That is bad juju with Auburn.
Look who else just popped in. Scarbo in the Magic City of Birmingham, U.S. Basketball Hall of Fame writer, the only one ever from the state of Alabama. And there have been a lot of great sports writers in Alabama. Kevin has his own Mount Rushmore, but you know
we are not worthy.
He lives by a simple motto. The only easy day was yesterday. And I heard him and Buddy this week use a term that I hold dear to my heart. I got a deadline. That's why he couldn't come on the show Wednesday, but we got him back with us today.
Hey, Kevin, Scarbo, I got an admonition for you just for this one show. You can't be a good father and go Gator this whole show. You got sons there.
You absolutely can, by the way.
I'm kidding.
Yes, you can.
I would expect no less.
I'll give you.
I love my sons, obviously, but I'm all about this bracket. And the last team on this bracket, I don't know if you can see that, it's the Auburn Tigers.
It's going to be
show it up again. Put it up there again, Kevin.
It's going to be a war
team right here. Notice I had this team, the Crimson Tide,
Yeah.
and Auburn in the final. I also had Tennessee and Alabama in the final, obviously. But see that national champion right there. You don't get off the horse that brung you, or stop dancing with the one that brung you, or whatever cliche you want to use.
Yeah.
That's right. To me, that Auburn Florida game shapes up to be just epic. Start to finish.
It is going to be a wild one, guys. And Jimmy
Who's
Dykes
having piano lessons today? That's what I want to know. Who's got piano lessons going?
Some kid just hopped up on a piano.
Oh, okay. I was flashing back. I didn't know.
Frank, I thought you were live from Shakey's Pizza.
Hey, Liberace, give me a break over here, for God's sake. Doing a friggin' show.
Yeah. The mute button is your friend.
No hablo inglés.
Hey, guys, Kevin and guys, Jimmy Dykes from ESPN, one of my favorite analysts, is going to join us about 1:30. I'm going to tell you what, it's basketball next week, folks. I know it is college football spring practice. I think this is the furthest we have gone into the cave without talking about football. But Hut is coming back next week. But today it is all about the round ball basketball that Mr. Naismith started the game.
Can you believe we're uttering those words?
Yeah, it is.
The state of Alabama.
Billy Joel just hauled ass, so I'm good.
Okay. Kevin, Final Four, the big one. You got the Gators, the Tigers, Duke, and Houston. And wow, what do you think?
Well, I think this is exactly what college basketball should be. I don't understand anyone who's upset because there's no George Mason or VCU or Butler in the Final Four. Don't you want the four best teams? How many times do we have this debate about college football? Don't you want the four best teams playing in the national semifinals to decide a national champion on Monday night? At least I do, because we're more likely to get really, really good games. And look, I'm not discounting those stories. Those are great stories. But those teams, when they get here, generally get run out of the building. We don't want to see anybody get run out of the building on Saturday or Monday night. We want to see high-level, high-intensity, championship-level basketball. And I think that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, for 6 hours. Yep.
I think they're I'm going with this, Scarb. A few that are in San Antonio practicing for this game that might like weaker competition so they could cut the nets down. Because I don't care which of these four you are, you understand very well your task is monumental just to get to Monday night.
Yeah. You got a gauntlet.
You got to play. You got to play some of your best basketball, if not your absolute best basketball, on Saturday and then again on Monday night. And which team can stay at a high level the longest is probably going to be the team that cuts down that last net on Monday night while the confetti's falling and they're playing one shining moment.
Well, in this Duke Janai Broome battle, National Player of the Year, and like Doug's mentioned, the vote's already in. I mean, it's going to come out April the 11th. Janai Broome's health, at this point, you don't keep that guy off the court, do you? He'll do whatever.
Well, they talked about that yesterday. They had some press availability for several of the teams out there in San Antonio, and Janai was asked about it. Bruce Pearl was asked about it. Janai said he's good to go. He said he'll be 100% by Saturday, which is what you would expect him to say, even if that's not the case, if he's 90%, if he's 80%. Look, 80% of Janai Broome is better than 90% of the players in the country. If that math works out.
Has he, Kevin, with this monumental year, I mean, he had a double-double, for Christ's sake, at halftime against Sparty. Has he ever had a game since midseason that he really was 100%? I don't think so.
I don't think. Well, first of all, people have not talked about this much. His shoulder issues, those have been recurring throughout the year, and I think they started back in December, or they first showed up back in December. But that terrible ankle injury against South Carolina in early January. No, certainly since that point, he has not been 100%. But he's been, in my mind, the best player in the country because of what he's done for his team and against whom he has done it. Cooper Flagg's a great player. He's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. He's going to make $11 million next year. I think that's the slot, the salary slot for the number 1 overall pick. But Janai Broome has done it against the toughest competition in the country, maybe
Week in,
ever.
week out. Yep.
Yeah.
Non-conference as well as conference. Look at the schedule that Auburn played in November and December. So to me, Janai should be the player of the year. He already has won one, the Sporting News.
Yeah.
Cooper's won another. There are several still to be announced this weekend. So, but really, that's the matchup. If you think about the entirety of the season, Janai Broome versus Cooper Flagg, Auburn versus Duke. There's a little backstory because they met in Cameron Indoor on December 4th, and Duke got him by 6 points. But Auburn walked away with a victory because the next day, Duke's associate athletic director sent out a missive to his season ticket holders and said, we can't have visiting teams send that many people into our building on game night.
Yeah.
That was a victory for the Jungle and the Auburn family that
Yeah.
night.
Amazing.
And I think you're going to see an awful lot of people in San Antonio. If you guessed which of the
That's
4
the
fan
feeling I get.
bases have the most people, and think about it, Auburn and Florida, they're the big state institutions.
Yeah.
Now, Duke has a national fan base, but it's a small private school. Houston is a smaller city school, so they don't have the fan base that Auburn and Florida have. So I would imagine that first game tomorrow night, the Gators and the Tigers, is going to be insane.
Auburn has a stage set for double retribution, and I guarantee you there's many a person from the Plains that's heading on over to watch it.
Yeah, and I think, you go back to February 17th, 2018. That was another fateful day. Anthony McLemore broke his ankle at South Carolina under the basket. Remember that?
Ooh, that was
South Carolina,
good.
but Auburn won the SEC championship game that year. The conference. Okay, this year Broome gets hurt at South Carolina. Auburn wins the regular season title.
You
for all of y'all, yeah.
You wish that, and this is no fault to the Wooden Award managers, voters. You can't know that there's a possibility of Auburn and Duke meeting in the Final Four. Their capability made that better than impossible.
Possible, yeah.
If you're not going to announce the Player of the Year at the end of regular season or before the tourney brackets are announced, then let it run. Don't vote until after the championship game, because fans would talk about what fans want to see. Want to see great basketball. What if an additional narrative was Broome and Flagg? They're going to play team ball, but in the back of their mind is, I'm also probably playing for National Player of the Year.
Well, I can see coaches looking at that two ways, the way you just suggested, Doug, but also I don't want my best player thinking about individual awards in the national championship game, especially if he's up against the other consensus finalist for this award.
100%.
Maybe they put a little extra pressure on themselves in that situation. Look, you're likely to put a little extra pressure on yourself, no matter who you are on the roster or in the rotation, if you get to Monday night. But
and if they knew. Go ahead.
Frank mentioned, I want to go back to what Frank just mentioned, retribution. And it's amazing to me how many people have discounted Auburn's chances on Saturday because they lost to Florida in February in the Jungle, and it wasn't as close as the final 9-point margin. The most amazing part about that game, guys, and looking at, I printed out the box score. I was actually watching a replay the other night. Auburn was up 10, 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes of game time later, Florida was up 21. That's a 31-point swing in 20 minutes of basketball time.
They couldn't miss from three.
Nobody has done that to Auburn. But, now Auburn knows exactly. They know Walter Clayton's range. They know he can hit it from the logo. They know exactly how big and strong Elijah Martin is because they've been on the court with him. And of course, Florida learned about Auburn as well, having faced them. But this is so Auburn. Go back to 2019. In the regular season, Doug and Rob especially, you'll remember this. Auburn played Kentucky twice, got beat twice. Close game in Auburn, and got run at Rupp Arena. What happened when they met for a third time in the Elite Eight? Auburn won the game in overtime, went to the Final Four. Last year, Florida and Auburn met once in the regular season in Gainesville. Who won the game? The Gators by about 15 or 16. What happened when they met again in the SEC tournament championship game? Auburn won by about 19.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah. So that was a 35-point swing from one game to the next. So I think you're in, certainly from a motivational standpoint, you've got a great advantage when you have lost the first meeting or the first two meetings. Am I crazy thinking that?
No.
Or is that so Auburn?
I
And Bruce Pearl's going to pound that in that locker room, especially in that pregame.
If you remember that Kentucky loss in 19, Auburn lost by 27 at Rupp and reeled off 12 straight wins. And yeah, you cannot let your past rob you of seeing the future, but you also don't forget things. And the politics, the greasy, sleazy, slimy, dark side of basketball officiating reared its head. I mean, it does. And you can't get every call right, but we've all seen it. And I do think Bruce Pearl is motivated to win this game, but you remember your past. And there's a narrative out there against Bruce Pearl for something that happened when he was at Iowa with Illinois. Hey, get over yourselves, people. I mean,
that's ancient.
It's pathetic and petty.
Yeah. Well, by the way, the second hardest thing in sports to do is to beat a great team twice. We learned that with the Alabama LSU football game in 2011. But besides hitting a baseball with a baseball bat, a non-torpedo bat, I might add, that is the second hardest thing to do in sports. But the fact that Auburn knows what Florida is and saw it firsthand, and to Scarborough's point, had a 31-point swing in that game that Rob, you and I and Doug were texting during that game. We watched every play of that. And it was right after I texted, oh, look, your boys came ready to play. And about 5 seconds after that, Florida went on their run. I think that gives Auburn a distinct advantage in this game. And look, Broom's going to play. It would take a meteor to keep him out of this game, both of these games. He is absolutely going to play. And I think it's going to set up for the game of the tourney. This Florida-Auburn game
I think so too.
is going to be it's going to be the de facto championship game, in my opinion. Look, with all due respect to Duke, but iron sharpens iron, and this game is the culmination of one of the greatest regular seasons and tournaments that we've seen ever in NCAA basketball, and that is the SEC this year. And I think the team that wins this game is going to come out of this and cut down the nets on Monday night.
Isn't that as it should be? No slight to any other conference, but every conference, if you inject their veins with truth serum, would say, SEC
sodium pentothal.
SEC was dominant all year long. I think we all understand Duke. If you go by eye test, because we've got limited body of work to say how good really is Duke, but your eyes will tell you they look awfully good. None of us should be shocked if Duke cuts the nets down, and none of us should be shocked if any of these four teams cut the nets down, and that's what makes it really exciting. As for the retribution factor in any game, Scarborough, I think it's often overrated. But I look more at was there any deficiency Auburn had when Florida kicked their rear end Neville that is not the case now? And I think Denver Jones was not full go. I think he played in that game, but he himself was coming back from injury. That's not to in any way diminish Florida played a nearly perfect game, and God, were they on fire from three. And if they're like that again and Auburn can't run them off the 3 line tomorrow, it's going to be a problem.
Also though, in Florida's favor, Elijah Martin didn't play in that game. I think he had a hip pointer. Micah Handglotten had not come back yet.
Yeah.
So now you've got another 7-footer in that mix of bigs that Florida has that are just so good. Now he's a little different. He's not going to step out and hit the 3 like Thomas Houck will, like Alex Condon can, but he's a big body to throw against Janai Broom. Yeah. And so those are advantages for Florida that they didn't have in that first meeting.
You know what intrigues me, guys? Love to get your opinion on it. I think that it's possible in this final. If you look at both games tomorrow, and it could come into play depending on who wins that makes it to Monday night. I think that two of the teams potentially, this is called a teaser, Duff, potentially have a problem with youth, too much youth. I'm not talking about a player. I'm talking about the head coach. And I'm interested to see, and coaches have limited ability to impact these kind of outcomes. The coaches will tell you. Sometimes I think they're trying to get off the hook at how well they did or not. But that players win games, how players execute will decide. And that's true. But there are coaching moves available as you plan for the game and during the game. And I'm betting on the old guys. I'm not counting out Kelvin Sampson's Houston.
That's
He's
right.
seen it all, brother. And he can make that an ugly physical game. So I'm going to be watching with great interest. Does youth in Todd Golden and Shire with Duke, does youth come to bite them at any little or big point?
When it comes to Pearl and Golden, it reminds me of the old saying, I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know.
Well,
Auburn fans.
Well, here's a question for you, and I love these stats, man. Gator George, Auburn only gave up 8 kill shot runs all season prior to the start of the tournament. That's amazing. And someone put a comment up here that the teams that it was an amazing stat about winning 81% of the time. You think about momentum runs. The difference with Auburn and Florida, there's respect between these two schools, Pearl and Golden. And look, you know what my bracket was? Michigan State, Florida, Houston, Alabama. Florida beats Houston. Florida cuts down the nets. Now, obviously, I'm an Auburn grad. Y'all all know that. But we're going to be fair on here. You have to be. Justice is blind when you're doing a show. You're objective. I still think Florida, because of that size. But you know what? Like Doug said, and Doug's pointed out a lot, and I've read some stuff from you, Kevin. But, Doug, you nailed it the other day on the show, Wednesday, Auburn Undercover. It's not Duke's fault that the ACC sucked this year. You can't hold that against them.
Play who you could play. Yeah.
I think those were my exact
they
words.
were. No, Scarbo.
I'm not proud.
Here. We worked
Hey,
here.
by the way, Scarbo's the only one among us this week that talked to Winifred E. Wimp Sanderson. By the way, a great podcast that you did this week with Wimp Sanderson. Kind of get his thoughts on what he thinks was going to happen in this Final Four, because he didn't get there, but
I know who he wants to win.
Who he doesn't want to win.
Yeah.
Who doesn't
more accurately. Yeah. Well, yes. He thinks Florida has the edge against Auburn because of its size, its ability to defend in the post, to throw different bodies at Janai Broome. Like I said, now they have Micah Handlockton, which they didn't have back in February. And he's a really good defender and rebounder. So his theme really was, though, and he's right. We focus on this season. Obviously, we're creatures and prisoners of the moment, and what a great season it's been for the SEC. The SEC didn't just start playing basketball this year. And the 80s, when I got into this business, was a golden era as well.
Sure.
It was.
And you look at the coaches, Dale Brown at LSU, Wimp Sanderson at Alabama, Sonny Smith at Auburn, Hugh Durham at Georgia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Norm Sloan at Florida, who'd won a national championship at
Dale
NC
Brown
State.
at LSU.
I mentioned Dale right off the top. Yeah, Dale is, I still remember Dale. You know, Dale always had a story. There was always a story beyond the game, beyond the sport with Dale. And it was an SEC tournament. I want to say it was 87 in Atlanta. And that was Alabama's best team under Wimp. That was the team with Derek McKee and Mark Gottfried and Jim Farmer, et cetera, et cetera. And they won the regular season and the tournament. But I think that was the one where Dale said he didn't sleep the whole tournament. He stayed awake the entire tournament. He had people visiting with him, sports writers, anybody who wanted to come visit with him in his hotel room to keep him up. That was his vow. He was not going to sleep, and he didn't, and he got him to the championship game. And then, of course, he got him to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament.
Nikhil Wilson doesn't hit that jumper. We go to the Final Four again.
Before they lost to Bob Knight in Indiana, the Evil Empire, and then the Hoosiers went on and won the national championship.
Keith Smart, the JUCO transfer.
Correct.
I was listening to Wimp, and if any Auburn fan probably has a part of their brain that says, my job is to not like Wimp Sanderson, and the other side says feels the same way about Sonny or Bruce. It's just the rivalry. But I like Wimp's knowledge of the game and his Coffee County, Alabama humor. And he was on Jocks the other day. I texted Robin Duff with this. Wimp's, he was talking about how fiercely Houston will defend you. And I don't know if y'all saw the clip, but they're practicing in San Antonio. And Sampson has them diving on the hardwood floor to fight for loose balls. And they could get injured. He doesn't care. They're getting ready their chance is to create a rock fight.
Correct.
Wimp Sanderson says, Houston will slap you naked and hide your clothes.
All right, let me say something real quick, a segue. Winter Timber Outdoors, folks. Doug Dean, he's a turkey hunter. It is turkey season. Get out to Winter Timber, Athens, Alabama, building a store in Auburn. Expected opening date in June, but they're going to build them all over the SEC footprint. Open every day of the week. Shotguns, rifles, handguns, turkey calls, all of them. Slate calls, box calls, diaphragm calls, the gear, the shotguns, the turkey loads. I love the migra loads. That's right. That gobbler comes up in there. I mean, it's like running through the tunnel at Neyland Stadium on a football Saturday. Look at the gear. Sitka, Duck Camp, Dixie decoys, head to toe, Yeti coolers. They've got them all for the outdoor life, for the great life. Proud to be associated with them. Southern owned, Southern pride for the Southern and American outdoorsmen. Winter Timber Outdoors, open every day of the week. Check them out on our website
turkey time in Tennessee.
Yeah, it is. It's football time in Tennessee. And Kevin, the thing I don't like about the tournament that I don't like, this is a real picky thing. Westwood One owns the broadcast rights. So you can't hear the stream of your favorite school's broadcast unless you're on radio. You can, but wherever I am, I just listen to Andy Barcham and Randall Dickey. It's always a lot of fun. And we're going to bring in Jimmy Dykes here. Should be on here in just momentarily. I know he's got another show at 8:45, but the excitement, the buildup for the Final Four, the fans going out there. And Brendan, put that up again if you can, a chance for people to win 4 tickets to the national championship. This is a huge opportunity. And, Dave Tompkins said on the show Monday, the NCAA, caving to the pressure of Duke, had relocated the Final Four to Greensboro because the Duke fans didn't want to have to travel that far. I mean, that's kind of how crazy it is. But look at this. Sign up for Ernie, drop a post in the account with the most teammates, wins 4 tickets to the national championship game in San Antonio.
For our listeners and buddies. So you got a great shot. Scan it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that I think the interest in college basketball, the focus this weekend, tomorrow afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, it's going to shut down the country. The numbers, I think, have been really good. And I'm curious when Jimmy gets on here. Okay, let's bring in Jimmy Dykes from ESPN.
Hey, while he's coming, hey,
Yes,
Duff,
sir.
can you throw Bingle One transport in with that
I can
deal
do that. I can get it
to
on
get to San
pontoons,
Antonio?
get it from here in Puerto Rico. But I can tell you right now, that better be on a tiki bar come 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Hey, Jimmy Dykes, welcome to SEC Sideline Sports Network. Frank Duffy in Puerto Rico, Doug Dean in Birmingham, Kevin Skarbinski, Scarbo Nose in Birmingham. I've watched you for a long time, and we have Dudley Dawson's been on our show the last 3 years, and he thinks the world of you. I was in Fayetteville for the Arkansas-Tennessee game, spent 4 days up there, hadn't been up there in a while. Man, you live in what I call one of the blue zones of the world. That's absolutely gorgeous. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk some basketball Final Four. What you think's going to happen?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Dudley's good people, so you hang out with the right kind of guys. Yeah, Fayetteville, Arkansas is just a great place to live. We also have a place in Knoxville, Tennessee, which we think is God's country as well. Our daughter's a cheerleader at Tennessee, so we've been back and forth between the two towns a lot this past year. It's at the Final Four. I think it's, in my eyes, the first time that there's no favorite. Like, clearly I think it's 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% chance of who wins that thing. They're all really, really good. We obviously know it's the first time that all the 1 seeds have gotten there since I believe 2008. So I'm a believer in all 4 teams. I think they're all terrific at what they do, how they play, star power across the board. There's not a lot of weaknesses to zero in on. And as you guys know, you got to play really, really well now to continue to win. And these 2 semifinals Saturday, you can play well and still lose. That's how good these games are.
Yeah, I definitely do. Guys, feel free, jump in. Jimmy Dykes, ESPN, one of the best basketball analysts in America. And again, he knows Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, which makes it doubly good.
Jimmy, I'm curious your thoughts on the coaching matchup in the SEC on SEC game. Obviously, Bruce and Todd go back a long way. They're very close. Bruce is the mentor. Todd's the protege. Is there any advantage, disadvantage there? And I flash back to Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Kirby had the hardest time beating Nick. And there was something about those games. It was a decision here, a call there, that just seemed to always go in Alabama's favor, except for that one time in the national championship game after the 2021 season, I should say. Now, tell me, what is it about Bruce Pearl that gives him an edge here? They're 2-2 in their matchup so far. Bruce got him in the postseason last year in the SEC tournament.
Well, I don't know if Bruce has an edge. Todd's already beaten him this year at Auburn. So if there's any edge, I think it's that Bruce is going to use that to motivate his guys. There's not a better motivator in college basketball than Coach Pearl, and he finds a way to play his team as the underdog when they're the overall number 1 seed. He's still playing that card right now that we're the underdog. No one's favoring us. So, but coaching wise, I don't think it's an advantage or disadvantage either way. Other than the fact that this is Todd Golden's first trip to the Final Four. Bruce has been there before. So maybe the preparation, the anxiety, the nervousness, maybe Bruce handles it a little bit better because it's a bigger stage than Todd's ever been on. But you don't get to the Final Four and have the success that Florida's had without being very, very well coached. So there's no secrets. They both know each other's program inside and out. There's no play calls now that are going to catch anybody by surprise unless it's a baseline out of bounds play they maybe put in this week. So I think it's boiled down to who plays the best, and foul trouble and things like that always come down to in big games.
Yeah, Doug.
Jimmy, first, Doug Dean of Birmingham. First of all, great opportunity to tell you, I love your work on air. You've got high basketball IQ, and yet you keep it at the 8th grade reading level for most of us.
That's because that's what I am.
So
I got to keep it at the level.
No, I'm not implying.
No, you're a genius.
I'm not implying it. I'm not implying that whatsoever. And then you bring some great fun and energy on the big plays. So I wish you were on the call this weekend for at least one of those games, but. Educate us amateurish analysts or fans that something Bruce likes to do, and I think the other coaches, I haven't watched them closely enough to say, I think they'll do it sporadically, but sometimes when Bruce is defensively is facing a lethal 3-point shooter, and Clayton and others with Florida certainly fit that description, he will send Broom out to the 3 line or Cardwell. And when you do that, you're choosing a risk, I think. I'd love you to talk about this. You're vacating the glass, and there's a risk that you don't get a defensive rebound. So what's the calculus going into this game, Auburn, Florida, related to the bigs defending the arc?
Well, I think, first of all, if you're talking about Walter Clayton Jr., it starts with Denver Jones. And that's the one guy that Denver Jones couldn't handle. If you go back and look at all the matchups, Denver struggled to cover Walter Clayton Jr. And Denver Jones is one of the best perimeter defenders in the country. So I think it's going to start with that part, how well you can you have to win your individual one-on-one matchup in games like this. And I think that's a big one to have our eyes on early, that Denver Jones, Walter Clayton Jr. matchup. And then, like you said, there'll be a lot of switching in this game. There'll be a lot of guys just making plays. So the luxury that Bruce Pearl has is he has a 5 guy in Dylan Cardwell, who literally he's one of the top 15 defenders in all of college basketball, regardless of size. So that's a big reason why Auburn's in the Final Four. They got one of the top offensive efficiencies and defensive efficiency teams in the country, but it's because of the versatility. They have offense, but the versatility defensively that Bruce has, they should have learned something the first time they played Florida in terms of not letting Walter Clayton Jr. just go nuts. But at the same time, Walter Clayton Jr. can just go make a play. You know, he's not a guy you have to run plays for. He can just go make a play. So it puts your defense in a real bind.
Was Golden doing something uniquely with screens to get Clayton open looks that you saw?
Nothing they haven't done all year. You know, Todd Golden is a great offensive mind, with spacing on the floor between Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richard, Elijah Martin, Aberdeen when he comes in, and then when guys like Houck are on the floor as well, like they just put you in a bind at all positions, because you got to respect those guys on the perimeter, including Houck, and then all of a sudden Condon's loose on the inside, or now Hanlockton's loose on the inside. So it's going to come down to, I think it'll be one of those last who has the ball last possession type games. I just think there's a lot of separation between the two teams.
Frank,
Jimmy, you talked about the big stage. The one guy, even though he's a freshman, that doesn't seem affected by the bright lights is Todd Pettiford for Auburn. He's been so good in this tournament. He's really only had one bad game I can recall. That was Tennessee in the SEC tournament. Can he be a difference maker in terms of his shot making ability, and just when nothing's working, he can go get you a bucket?
Yeah, he's shown that in this tournament. A lot of props to that kid for not starting. I don't think he started one game this year, but there's no effects of that at all from him. Like he's all about the team, and he would start for 90% of the teams that were in the NCAA tournament this year. He's that talented. The one thing that Florida has is bigger, older, physical guards. And that's something that no matter how good Pettiford is, or any freshman guard that's at the high level these days, you're always concerned about the physicality of the game. And Tahad's not the most physical kid, but he's quick. He knows angles well. He plays fearless. So I just think you have to expect both teams to play their very best. And I think if they do, like I said, I think it comes down to who has the ball last and who gets the last rebound or who gets a tip in, something like that.
Jimmy, since most of the analysts that I've listened to, at least, there are a few exceptions, have come awfully close to writing off Houston. That might be too strong. and that's understandable. As good as Duke looks, their length, they're just amazing. And they've got Flagg, who is right there with Broome. You'd probably give a little edge to Flagg to win the National Player, the Wooden Award. We'll see. It's the 11th announced. But what is Houston's chance tactically in terms of style of game? What is Houston's chance to take down the Blue Devils?
Yeah, I think they have just as good a chance as Duke does taking down them. Honestly, I don't buy into we're guessing right now a little bit, but I don't buy into the fact that Houston's got a real uphill battle here. I think Duke's got an uphill battle as well, because the physicality of Houston is something that Duke has not seen all year, not one time. And I know the length of Duke could cause a problem for Houston. Houston's not an overly big team, but they play way bigger than they are. And their defense at times is jarring. It's relentless. It sometimes takes teams a while to adjust to it. Not that I expect Duke to take a long time to adjust to it. It's a very talented, big team. But I have talked to teams that have played Duke this year, and they say the one thing they're concerned with is the lack of speed at the point guard spot for Duke. The lack of guys that can just blow by and go make a play. And I think that's what happened to Tennessee. They got exposed. They didn't have guys that can just break you down and go make a play instead of having to run plays. So I'll be anxious to see if Cooper Flagg can go win his one-on-one battle. Can Con Knipple win his one-on-one battle? Can Proctor continue to do what he's done in this tournament with a just the same size athlete, physical kid all up into him? So if I'm Houston, I play all those clips of all the analysts that are saying this game's an overmatch. And then turn that pack of dogs loose that Kelvin Sampson has, because he's playing with a pack of dogs is what he's got.
Frank, jump in here real quick.
Officiating is
Jimmy's got about 2 minutes.
Yeah, diving on the floor for loose balls in practice, like they're hungry dogs. You're exactly right. By the way, Jimmy, I want to parrot what Doug said. We love your work. You do a fantastic job. My question to you is the strength of a conference like the SEC was this year, getting teams in the Final Four, and then Duke coming in, a great team, very powerful, like you said, has a 25% chance of cutting down the nets on Monday night, but coming from a much weaker conference than normally in the ACC. How do you speak to that when you get a team this deep into the run, based upon what they went through in the regular season? Is it something that's really far in the rearview mirror, or is it something that you have to factor in when you get to the Final Four and then to the championship game?
Yeah, well, I think the only thing that we can still factor in now is the fact that Duke has not been in a tight, close game. And the 2 or 3 times we saw them in those games this year, they stumbled. Like they fell, they stumbled. I will be very surprised if Duke wins the whole thing, that they win by double figures both games, Saturday and Monday. I think they're going to be in that tight spot with a minute to go, and we'll see where they go with the ball and how they finish off a game, because they have not been tested. The ACC was historically bad this year compared to where they've been in the past, and the SEC has been historically good. So with that being said, Duke's playing a lot of minutes with 3/4 freshmen. So there's still some question marks about Duke in terms of how they're going to hold up on now the biggest of the biggest stages. But I've kind of talked not negative about Duke, and maybe have pointed out some issues of concern. I won't be surprised at all if they don't win it. Like they're the real deal, man. Their size, their positional size, from the point guard to their 5-guy Malawatch is a difference maker. Like I don't know if Houston's going to get those tip out offensive rebounds they've been getting over at times. And I think Duke's going to have the ability to maybe just make some plays over the top of their smothering defense. That's how good and long and athletic Duke is.
Yeah, Jimmy.
The official's going to let them play, Jimmy, since it's Final Four, they let them play physical, you think?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I hope not. I just hope I think they've done a good job of officiating this tournament like the rules say to officiate it. So if they stay to that, and I think they will, those officials are good. They're old, they're experienced. They're not going to dictate the game early with a tight whistle. I don't think so.
Jimmy, before you go, I got to ask a question. Joe Klein's been on this show. He was awesome. We want to get the shooter, Pat Bradley, and Dudley talks about him when he was being recruited. He called him up in Everett, Mass, and he said, "Tell me about yourself. You're a guard." And he goes, "I'm a guide." And he said, "Well, I mean, you're good, but a guide. He's from Boston. But do you and Joe Klein and the shooter ever get together and talk hoops with Coach Cal? I mean, what y'all, the three of y'all, the Arkansas trilogy. I live in Memphis, so I pay attention. I'm in Arkansas right now at the farm in Parkin, and I'm telling you, this state, my wife said, I love living in Arkansas because the weather and everything is just high energy. But how much fun do you have? And you're welcome anytime to come back on the show. I know you got to go, but just address that quickly before you leave us.
Yeah, those are two good friends of mine. We're not physically together a lot because just because of the nature of the job.
Yeah.
But I think I think we all three have a good relationship with Coach Cal, to your point. I mean, I have a great relationship with him. I know Cal's very happy now in Arkansas. This change has kind of rejuvenated him and put an edge back on his shoulder. He had a great turnaround to his season. So, but you're mentioning 3 of the greats of Arkansas. You should not mention Jimmy Dykes in the same sentence with Joe Klein and Pat Bradley. Those guys actually played. Those guys actually got to take their uniform, their warm-up offing games, as opposed to me. So, hey, guys, I do have to run, but it's great to have me on. Thank you very much for the invite.
Man, always welcome, man. Have fun up in Knoxville. My wife's of all. Take care.
Okay.
Guys, that was great stuff.
He's so good.
He really is. And working on getting the shooter, Pat Bradley, on. Maybe we can get him on Monday. Brad Bellamy, join us now. You got some programs.
Bradley,
what's up, guys?
Final Four weekend. Are we all driving out there together in a new expedition? Carpool?
Hey, I want employee prices for your Ford.
You got it. You got it.
Tell us what's happening, man.
So, Ford, there's been a lot of hubbub about tariffs, guys, and everything going on. Different manufacturers have come out and said, hey, we're going to be putting some addendums. We're going to be adding stuff. Ford is doubling down on everything going on, guys. There's no more highly built vehicle in the United States than
America,
Ford.
baby.
They're the number one manufacturer in the United States. There's more Fords built by Americans for Americans than any other brand. And over 80% of what Ford builds actually gets built in the good old US of A, guys. So what Ford has launched is employee pricing for everyone. It started yesterday, and we're super excited about what that's going to bring for our consumers. Ford has never had employee pricing for everyone. This is the first time in history that they've ever done it. About 10 years ago, they did friends and neighbors price, but you're looking at a significant difference between what Ford employees pay and what friends and neighbors pay. So the program launched yesterday, and at Landers, guys, we're not just going to have employee pricing for everyone. We're going to beat employee pricing for everyone. So every vehicle line that's included in the program, we have less than A-plan price on them. 24 F-150s, we got $2,000 less than the A-plan price. 2024 Rangers, we got $500 less than the A-plan price. So those 24s we still got. We're moving those out. We're making great deals on them. The 24 Expedition, $2,000 below the family, the A-plan price. What is not included, guys, and it doesn't need to be, is the 25 Expedition. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. Our first few rolled into the dealership on Wednesday. Within an hour, we had some folks from Briarcrest here. She bought it. She had 3 of her friends come up here. I got another one going this morning. They're unbelievable. One of the coolest new features to me is, it's not always the most comfortable thing to sit in the back row of your vehicle and watch the sunset, watch fireworks, sit in the back of it camping. Ford has actually provided a bench that extends on the back of it, so you can sit there in the back of your vehicle and have a great tailgate experience.
Real tailgate.
There we go.
So there's a little lip now that folds down, and it's super comfortable to sit there and just have a conversation with your friends over a morning cup of coffee or maybe a late night brew. But man, we are so excited. Come out, check it out. We are we're open for business, and all of our team is super excited. We had a great day yesterday with people coming in despite the storms. I mean, Rob, the storms we had yesterday were insane with the straight line winds in Carterville.
Yeah. And Wednesday night, I mean, we had 3 tornado warnings, 2 at the same time here in Parkin. Hunker down. It was wild, but Old Glory will be flying at Poplar and Houston Levee. I know that's been a big topic, but one thing about it, guys, when y'all go to Landers, it's a ginormous lot. It's so clean on the inside. I told Brad, I went in the service department. I'm like, it is so clean. It reminded me of Christian Brothers High School when we were there. You could eat off the floors, and Brother Adrian would sweep Walnut Grove every morning at 5:30 a.m. LandersFordMemphis.com. And man, I'm looking forward to going to see Sturgill Simpson next Friday. Look at that helmet.
Hey, Brad, just for you, Brad.
Hey, you need to update it when that's
exactly.
You're missing 3.
Yeah, you're missing 3. There you go. Brad, basketball, we're going to bounce it around here.
Give us some winners, Brad.
Winners.
Well, we didn't get the Iron Bowl in the national championship game, but unfortunately, it was the wrong side of the right side for a couple of you guys. So, man, I mean, I think nationally,
hard to bet against.
I think
Duke.
nationally, they're probably happy that Auburn and Florida are against each other. Because at least you won't have a double SEC national championship. Probably good for ratings too, quite frankly, because I think a Duke versus Auburn, Duke versus Florida, I mean, great matchup. Same thing if Houston's in there. Duke's been unbelievable in this tournament. Houston struggled a little bit at times, but man, they shut down Tennessee.
They're scary.
Unbelievable what Houston's defense did against Tennessee. I totally missed a lot of bets over last weekend when it came to that, but it was fun to live bet games last weekend. Michigan State helped me cover on a live bet when they were plus 12.5. But, I think what was the head-to-head? I mean, Florida beat Auburn this year.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah. Badly.
It
wasn't close.
I mean, you guys are more experts than I am when it comes to Auburn. What are y'all feeling about the game?
We've on the show so far this morning. I think the vibe has been toss-up game. Maybe all four of these, or both of these games, are toss-ups. It's hard to feel overconfident as an Auburn fan when you've watched Florida play. The only thing my confirmation bias is teasing me to want to believe, which is probably not accurate, is that during the tourney, Florida has had a couple of near-death experiences. They haven't been. You can't call them dominant. And give UConn, Danny Hurley, give Texas Tech credit. But the question is, do they relax now that they're in the Final Four? If they do and they play Florida basketball, it's going to be a problem for this Auburn team. But I just think it's there's a reason the line is Florida -2.5.
Yeah, Brad,
Close.
right before you were on Jimmy Dykes, his opening statement was each of these teams, I think, has a 25% chance of winning. And by the way, Brad, Kevin on this channel, Scarbo Knows on his show on our channel here, had Wimp Sanderson on earlier this week. That was, go back and watch his podcast. That was awesome. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, I would echo what everyone else has said. It would be a surprise to what Jimmy Dykes said. I think it would be a surprise if anybody, he mentioned Duke in particular, if they won these two games Saturday and then whoever they would play Monday by double digits. I don't see anybody running away from anyone. I don't see anyone doing what, as Brad mentioned, what Houston did to Tennessee in the Elite Eight. That 17-0 run that Auburn put on Michigan State in the first half in the Elite Eight. I think they're going to be more like the Florida UConn, Florida Texas Tech games, where you really don't know with 2 minutes left who's going to win. And it's going to come down to somebody making a play. And that's, if you're Auburn, that's scary because nobody is a better clutch player, not just in the Final Four, but in the country, than Walter Clayton Jr.
I can't argue. No one's talked about they're playing in a football stadium. I don't know if y'all have been in the Alamo Dome. I have not. But the sight lines can be different. I know they get to warm up and practice there, but you may see one or more of these teams put a little heavier emphasis on taking it in the paint and trying to get points inside and not trying to depend on 20, 25 plus 3-point attempts. That'll be interesting to watch.
I think more likely that's Auburn.
Do you think that gives Houston an advantage because they just had to do that for the last two games? They had to do
maybe. They're going to make it a rock fight, an ugly, grinding kind of game, hoping a low-scoring game. And I don't know that anybody can force Duke into that, but I think that's Houston's
both
chance.
Both of these are going to be trench warfare.
It is very different. That's a good point about playing in a football stadium as opposed to a basketball arena like State Farm Arena in Atlanta, where Auburn was for their regional. It's just a different vibe. It's just so vast. The backdrop, the amount of space, it just feels artificial.
It does.
It doesn't feel like basketball. It takes time to adjust.
Sometimes the court is elevated. Kevin, isn't the court elevated sometimes?
That has always bothered me. From a player safety standpoint, the possibility of, was it Kevin Ware? I don't know if that was the issue. Kevin Ware from Louisville, who in the tournament had one of the worst leg injuries we've ever seen some years ago. And I don't know if that had anything to do with playing in a dome or not, but it's a different vibe and it takes time to adjust. It takes time to get comfortable. That's why if you come out, and Florida has started very slowly in its tournament games. Auburn did in a couple of them as well. I think an early start, despite what happened in Auburn, where Auburn jumped out by 10 on Florida and then Florida completely flipped the script and just ran away. I think that early first 5 minutes or the first 4 minutes till you get to the first media timeout, don't fall behind 10-0. Don't give up a kill shot. And by the way, one of the viewers has correctly pointed out those kill shots, which are 10-0 runs or more. It's Evan Maya, evanmaya.com, Evan Mayakawa. He's the one who compiles that advanced metric. And Auburn's great at not giving them up. Florida's great at creating them offensively. So
something's got to give.
Which side, can Auburn keep Florida from doing that, or is Florida going to put a couple of those together? Think about it's hard enough to beat an excellent team on a level court. You give them a 10-point edge early, you're running uphill for the rest of the day.
Brad,
Right.
address this with the over and under. You and Frank, y'all speak that language about as well as anybody, but I think it's 159.5 for Auburn, Florida.
I mean, what's the status? Is Broom completely healthy? What's the status on him?
He's good to go. He's ready to go. He won't feel any pain.
He's telling. I don't know if Broom himself knows until he gets in a game and it's his non-shooting arm, which is better than the opposite. But he is telling reporters that he will be 100% by Saturday. So the players say that because they want to believe it, and it's not entirely the case. I don't know. We're going to see him in action early, and that's certainly an X factor to keep.
He's going to reek icy hot. He'll be good.
There's been a lot of overs this tournament because of the way the games have ended. There was one the other day where I think they put up 25 points in the last 2 minutes of the game because of all the fouls and everything else. If these games are close, I think they both stay under.
Me too.
I think a team that's up 8, up 7, up 9 with 2 minutes to go, then I think that the Florida Auburn game especially has a chance to go over. But I mean, in Auburn's case, in Florida both, I think at this point in time in the tournament, having a close game helps you. It gets you playing under pressure. It gets you the, oh my gosh, we're about to lose moment. Auburn had it in the Sweet 16. Florida had it in the Elite 8. I mean, the Connecticut game, they were down, but I never felt like they were going to lose that game. And then they got up big enough at the end to where it was, a couple of shots that made it be closer. But I like the unders in these two games. I think the arena causes players to not make as shots, especially three.
And if you can get an under bet on the first 4 minutes in Auburn, Florida, I would love that. I think these two are going to stand off like two heavyweights and feel each other out in those first 4 minutes.
If I'm a player, what would worry me in Auburn, Florida, maybe less so Duke, Houston, is you take the under, and it's not impossible. It's a game that can go to overtime, and then you're having to hang on to win the under.
Brad, y'all going to have the TVs on out there at Landers Ford all weekend, aren't you?
Also, just one other thing going on. There's a lot going on in Memphis this weekend, but one thing I just want to mention real quick. There's a local charity organization called Agape Child and Family Services. They work in specific communities to help get families out of poverty. Having a huge event. It was supposed to be at Shelby Farms, but because of all the weather we've had this week, it's gotten moved to Sycamore View Church of Christ. We're off Sycamore View. 35 churches from around the area getting together. Black churches, talking about hope, talking about bringing folks together and making a difference, getting folks out of poverty. And so we'll be out at that. We're giving away free crumble cookies to the first 500 people who show up. And we're going to have a brand new expedition on site as well. People can see that. But organization that we support, I'm actually on the board of it now, and just making a lot of difference. Governor Lee is a huge fan, and our CEO David Jordan is actually working with him on some future plans for Memphis and trying to get things better here. So
Governor Lee was a Kappa Alpha mechanical engineering graduate from Auburn University. Good man.
Brad, where did you grow up? Deep South? Where are you from?
Here in
Memphis.
outside of
Yes.
So I was born in Searcy, Arkansas, and know highway very, very well. I went to school over at Harding University for college, and lived in Michigan for 12 years, worked on the corporate side of Ford. So I've gotten to experience the brutality of being in a Final Four and a regional when they're playing in Ford Field. And it's not great for fans either. I mean, we had lower level seats, and I still feel like I was a mile away when Steph Curry just barely lost to Kansas the year that they beat Memphis in the national championship game.
That was 2008, right?
And then I was able to see Michigan State lose in the Final Four in the there as well, which was an unbelievable atmosphere. I mean, anytime you get a home crowd for a game like that, though, it is pretty incredible to be able to see that. But
hey, we need to footnote. Speaking as a Bruce Pearl devotee, I am glad Buzz Williams has gone to Maryland. He has been a problem.
Go Terps!
Hey,
The fear of the turtle.
Coaches made it to the finals yet, or are they all finalists? Because Pearl hasn't made it. Neither is Sampson, right?
I don't know about
Not
Kelvin.
to the championship
no, Bruce.
game. He's been to the Final Four a couple of times.
Yeah.
Thanks to some outstanding referees. You hear me, James?
Yeah.
Reading,
Wahoo.
in the UVA.
Yeah.
game.
We got to wrap it up, guys. But I got to tell you, Ford, what you just talked about on this show, that's why we love you. And you're right down the street from our great friends at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. I'll be out there tomorrow night, live from the boot room, Brad. Gonna have a great concert out there. And I'm going to see Sturgill Simpson. Life ain't fair. God, that guy's talent. I'm bouncing off the walls about it. Hey, for executive producer Brendan Martin, let me say, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Mother Teresa said it best. We can't all do everything, but we can all do something. Follow Brad's lead. Support Agape. To all of our viewers, everybody, and our sponsors, thank you. Have a great weekend, and watch all these shows on our channel. Scarborough Knows, Buddy Martin Show, AU Undercover. They're all right here. Thanks.
Go Puerto Rico. Go Puerto Rico.
Be careful down there, my friend.
That's right.
Go AU.
Two pina coladas.